All right, mic check, I'm good. So I'm Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding podcast.
The show is about to begin.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron, and as always, looking for fantastic stories across this wonderful nation and around the world. Now, today we have someone who's going to be coming sort of on a second wind through the same company, but first time being interviewed here with myself in the podcast. We have Dan Hunt from ClearSource. Dan, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Max. How you doing?
I'm doing great, and we're trying a different thing. We're recording on Zoom. Normally we're on Teams because I'm having technical issues, so hopefully nothing cuts out and everything goes well, but you know how it is.
Don't
do that to me. You actually gave me a little bit of a heart attack there.
Right on.
So Dan, let's talk about a little bit of who you are with the company ClearSource.
Sure. So I head up our marketing efforts here with ClearSource, and it's really just the two of us. So so the CEO, Mike Jansen, he was on episode 62, I think, February of last year. And so really it's just the two of us in the company here. And so yeah, I mean, for folks who don't know what ClearSource is all about, we're really bringing call it kind of a Trivago experience, if you will, to the world of sourcing and procurement. I think that was the term that Mike used when he was on last time. And it makes sense. Basically, Trivago, you go on there and you can find, all the different hotels that have prices for the dates that you want to stay, and you can pick from there, right? Same thing with welding supplies, right? You're going to go on and say, hey, I'm looking for a Lincoln whatever or a Miller whatever, and you give those whatever distributors you want the opportunity to get quotes back to you, right?
So this is, I would say, a necessary market, as it has become a necessary market for hotels, for rental cars, for so many of the other consumable products that we have within our economy, that eventually those businesses are going to exist for everything. And I feel like you guys kind of jumped on it early as a kind of a company in terms of trying to figure it out. And of course, being Canadian, and something that we love to support, and you're based out of Edmonton, but as I did with the interview with Mike, is the whole question of why and how. Right. So if we start going back in time, yourself, what's your professional background? Like, let's start working into the why Dan Hunt is now in charge of marketing for ClearSource.
I wonder that sometimes. Yeah, life takes funny turns on you, right?
Yeah. So where's your roots from?
Yeah. Okay. So my roots, I mean, if we go career wise, are more media. With sort of a minor in marketing, if you will. So I was in radio for radio and a little bit of TV there for, almost 25 years. My wife and I did morning shows together.
Yeah.
So,
in the Edmonton radio?
Yeah, a little bit there, a little bit in Canmore, a little bit in North Bay, Ontario. So we kind of bounced around all over the place. But yeah, I mean, and so Mike and I have been, friends for 40 years, since we were, this tall, right?
Really?
Yeah. So we've always kind of kept in touch, and he's been the one who's had the relationships within the industrial supply space, and really worked there for decades. And so when he decided, hey, there's an opportunity here. This space hasn't changed its process in more than 30 years. It's still the phone. It's still email. It's still the fax in some cases, right? There's an opportunity to change it here. After I left radio, I had a real brief 18-month window there where I actually went and worked for Mike up north at Firebag and Base Plant when he was running the Fastenal operations up there. Yeah. And so I was slinging nuts and bolts and studs and working in the tool crib and that
filling
kind of
machines.
Thing. Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
And so, when I got out of that, I actually got into digital marketing and did that for about 7 years before jumping into into ClearSource here. So really, I bring kind of that media background with a smattering of industrial supplies and a good base in online marketing to the table here.
Mike's background as a industrial rep for a supplier, there's a very clear connection there in terms of his audience and his base and and the product knowledge, right? Now, I've also been in radio for over 20 years, and I've been, a part of obviously doing these podcasts. It's part of who I am. Um, there is another skill set there, and that is being able to talk without selling, because radio people don't really sell. We kind of fill space with stories, right? And we find
Yeah.
the common threads between A and B that sometimes are not so obvious to people that don't do this for a living.
Mhm.
People always ask, how do you do a podcast? How do you always get people to give out their guts? It's like, well, you gotta find those threads, and then when you find the thread, you gotta start pulling on it just the right way, right?
Yeah.
And I
Yeah,
think
exactly.
that's a very interesting skill set that I think you would bring. Now, was that on purpose? Is that Mike being like, "Hey Dan, I need you to bring that skill to this new company," or was it like, "Hey Dan, you're my best friend. Just jump on the train with me and see what happens"?
I'd be interested to get Mike's answer on that, but I suspect it would be something, like whatever option B was there. Like, hey, come on, just jump
Get
on the train.
train.
Yeah, I mean, to tell the truth, I think what I bring to the table is a fresh set of eyes, right? I mean,
Mhm.
if you live in the industry, you work in the industry, sometimes you can get kind of lost
Blinded, yeah.
in the forest, so you can't see it for the trees. So, yeah, it's really just more plot exposition, I think, sometimes for
Mm.
the folks that we're talking to, whether it's investors or trying to explain to our developers what this is all about, right? He's already had to explain it to me and bring this dummy up to speed. Now, okay, now we're going to bring some other people who are markedly more intelligent, but they still need to be brought up to speed the same way. So let's I kind of serve that role.
So in your position, coming in from outside, knowing Mike and his passion for what he brought to the table, did you feel that excitement? Were you like, "Oh wow, this could be a thing"?
Yeah.
Like this is gonna take off, or was there some like, "I gotta go do some Googling, buddy"? Like, are you sure?
Yeah. So before we started this, we actually had a notion to create a different kind of company during the pandemic that was sort of you count the skip the dishes for other things, right? And you've
Mhm.
seen a lot of places go and become this, right?
Yeah.
You get an
Well,
order
even Skip the
from.
Dishes themselves, they've expanded into liquor and cigarettes and whatever, right? Like,
That's exactly it, right?
yeah.
So we got a ways down the path there to the point where Mike actually quit his job. I didn't. He quit his job, and then 6 weeks later, we had to fold the company because then, yeah, we recognized that there are these other groups and people out there who are already going to do it. So, we made our investors whole, and Mike was still taking his MBA at the time, so did some looking into the digital readiness of the industry that he had come from, and
Mhm.
realized, yeah, okay, there's a ton of room for improvement here, right? If you look
Mhm.
at the fact that anything else you can get online and you can do without having to go through manual processes if you want to, that in a lot of cases doesn't exist in the world of industrial supplies, and more specifically where we're making our beachhead, the world of welding supplies.
It's really interesting. I've been a business owner and worked for many companies my entire career. And the term you use there, digital readiness, I think is key, right? So forever, and I would want to equate this, let's see, in some type of like anecdotal relationship here. It's like I can go buy a Hyundai at the Hyundai store. I can go buy a Hyundai at a used car lot. I can go buy a Hyundai from a lot of places, right? But I can't buy a Ferrari wherever I want. I gotta order a Ferrari. I gotta get in line. I gotta have a down payment. I gotta have proof of I gotta have a business. I gotta have all this stuff. Where do you even buy a used Ferrari? That's even complicated. And I feel like welding supplies have always been like kind of that tier outside of the norm. I could go online and I can order drill bits. I could always order, squares. I could order a clawfoot hammer for carpentry. There was a whole tier of tools that were available to the public for quite a while that you could just buy. But welding was always somehow outside of this world.
Mhm.
It was, and it was always this feeling that it was, I don't know if it was industry controlling it or the economy itself, the way it was just built. But there was this concept that I needed to talk to somebody to buy X, this welding machine. I needed someone to pitch it to me in order for me to agree to buy it, yes or no.
Yeah.
Even walking into a established place, a Messer, a Lindy, a Valen, it would still be what you want is probably not even here. You're going to have to look. We'll have to bring one in. You can play with it for an hour, then decide if you want to buy it. It was always like a very in-depth process to do it. Even grinders, it's like even things like that would seem very off the shelf. You know, something that's got a SKU number. Like it's got a SKU number. You tell me that this can't just be scanned on a shelf somewhere and someone's quans it to be out the door and out the window, but it didn't really exist. Now, I remember when Ackland's was the first try, and they went the eBay way. Or the Amazon way, I should say, where they just got massive warehouses, filled them with what they felt were the most likely products to sell, set up an online store, and started trying to sell it. And it was really difficult to work with. It was really hard to navigate. The PO systems were a mess. And you still ended up being at Ackland's, at their front desk, talking to somebody about the thing you just tried to order, right?
100%. Yeah.
So it felt like it was like sort of an effort, but not really there. Now, I feel like that digital readiness you brought up was a big part of that. It's one thing to want something, but are you ready to do it?
Right.
So how did you guys approach that? That's a huge question I just threw.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And I think we approached it by looking at the fact that there was an uneven playing field starting to develop. Right, you've got these incumbents in the industry, and you mentioned several of them there, who have the pockets and the manpower and just
capital.
The capital to go and build these solutions that are out there. Right. And the other thing you touched on is the fact that, sometimes you do have to go into the branch. There doesn't, how do I say this here? Not everything has to happen online, right?
Yeah,
There's a time and a place for you to go to the counter and ask for help. You got a technical question. Yeah, you should go in there and be talking to somebody about what you need in order to be able to accomplish whatever it is you're trying to do. But, like you said, if you've got your SKU number, you've got your part number, the unit that you're using, and what kind of tips you like to get or whatever it is, you should be able to go online and just go get that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so part of where we started was looking at things that way, but then also realizing that we have to help the other side of the equation too, right? It's not just the end user, it's the people who are selling it, to these folks. So that's that uneven playing field. So when we look at the independents, those mom and pop operations out there that, might have, 5-10 people working in the shop there, and they've got great relationships and things, but they're, so underwater with the manual processes that are involved in their day-to-day activities that they just don't have, again, the time or the pockets or the knowledge to go about digitalizing the process that they do at the counter. And so they just maintain the status quo. All the while, the incumbents are just kind of running away. And as the workforce gets younger, they skew more and more online. The balance of power is starting to tip over to those incumbents, right? So where we've found a lot of traction is with dealing with these independents.
So when you look at the people that you want to bring in to your network, because basically like a Trivago, you're going to have a trusted network that you'll pull from, because you also don't want to be pulling in information from someone that can't follow through with whatever it is that they're hoping to provide, right? Now, as you're doing this, how careful do you have to be in that balance that you just explained in terms of the incumbents, like you call them, the big heavyweights who will have X, and then perhaps the smaller mom and paws that produce Y that may be on a different price point, but there's probably a different quality point or whatever their pitch is.
Yeah.
How do you then balance that on your app?
Yeah, for sure. So what we'll do is we'll basically replicate what's happening in real life, right? It's all a manual process right now. You pick up the phone, you call a large incumbent, national, and you'll say, hey, okay, good, give me my price. And then, if it's a big enough let's say you're looking at a $20,000 unit, right? You're going to call around to a few other places, get your price, and then you'll make your choice. Now, what's also being factored in there is things like, what's your affinity for that particular distributor, right?
Yeah. Do you have a relationship there? Is there a history?
Yeah. Or you say, well, I'm getting a price from those guys, but man, they really cheesed me off a ways back, and there's no way I'm going to work with them again unless their price is crazy good. You're also going to look at, do they actually have it in, or is it a case of, like you said before, oh, we can get it to you, it's going to take 4 weeks, or as was the case last year when people are looking for plasma cutters, they're waiting for like a year for these things to come in.
For the one microchip to show up from China. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So what we're doing is really just kind of bringing that process that's happening right now and just putting it online. So the benefit there, though, is the fact that you get to a yes or a no quicker.
Yeah.
From both sides of the equation, which if you ask anybody who's managing distributorship, that's what they want, right? Don't tease us along and make us wonder, is that still up for bid, or did you close that off, or what happened? It's giving some solid answers right away and just speeding up the process of business.
The process, yeah. And the smaller shops, the ones that are getting out there in the beginning, and for any entrepreneur out there, they know you really lean on the suppliers to treat you well, because they can really make or break a job for you. And you really lean on them saying, hey, this is the best price I can get you, to be honest about that. And do you find that perhaps your app might dilute a little bit of that confidence? Because I can just jump on ClearSource app and find out what the price is on this same product from 30 different people.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, right?
Yeah,
and absolutely you can, right? But again, price is just one part of it. I often say to people, like, if you chose to go see a movie at 2:00 on a Saturday afternoon, and you went to go see a specific movie, I'd ask you, well, what made you choose that movie? Well, it was all these other movies were playing, and I wanted to go see this one, and it was 2:00 and all that stuff. And you go, okay, great. Well, are you saying the movie trailer didn't play into that? Are you saying that, all the ads that you saw, the billboards and that kind of stuff didn't play into it? There's a lot of other factors that come into play. Oftentimes, distributors are going to look at or end users are going to look at price, but only because it's the last thing you consider before you make that ultimate choice. There's a number of things that happen before that to sort of weed people out of the game, if you will.
Yeah. So in terms of the, your background in radio and marketing, when you come into this piece, what are some of the perhaps 2 or 3 like real important like sales morals that you want to hold on to when you look to push this out there? Because you can start cutting corners in terms of representation, money. Your best customers, you may want to push more. How do you keep this unbiased? Because it's, it's like a Trivago thing. Like, you got to not play favorites. We hope, right? Like,
yeah. Well, I mean, and the main thing is that like pricing comes from the distributor's order desks.
Yeah, it's not
we're really just a conduit, right? So, if I go to distributor, A, and I say, okay, what's our price? What's your availability? Great. That's straight from them. Right. We're just the tool by which you get that information. Right. And same thing with, distributor B and C and that kind of thing.
How digital ready does your distributor need to be to work with you?
This is the other piece. And this is what's really, kind of exciting and new. And part of the reason why I thought it might be interesting to get together is because we launched, what was it, September of last year.
September.
And shortly thereafter, we had a conversation with some of our distributors, particularly some of the order desk staff, who looked at it and went, this is fantastic. We love this. Our customers are going to love it. It's not going to save us any time, but,
but the customers are going to come prepared. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so we went, well, that's not good. This has got to help you guys out, because you got to be our biggest champion. So we went and did a couple of things. One, we built in some workflows for the order desks to take some of that manual operation off their hands. Right. Things like payment, shipping, and those kind of things. So it's speeding things up on their side. The other thing that we did is we created sort of bespoke private stores for a lot of our distributors that are on the platform.
Okay.
Right. so that you go
Kind of
to
like the Shopify thing. Like we'll actually help you sell it too.
Yeah, exactly. Without exposing you to everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Because what you
Okay.
were mentioning earlier is a big concern, right? Hey,
Mhm.
we would love to be on this thing for new business. That's fantastic. But for people that know us and love us and they want to work with us, why do we need to expose ourselves to other businesses? And so we
Mhm.
built this solution so that you can go to a distributor's website when you click on visit their virtual order desk or shop here, you're taken to their own ClearSource store, if you will. So
Okay.
you can
Yeah.
go through, find the items that you want. Again, if you know your SKU number, if you know the parts that you need, put those together in a quote request, send that out to the order desk. They fill out the price and availability, send it back to you, and it's so much faster for everybody because now the order desk isn't having to, ask you 20 questions about what is it you're trying to do and what's your, do you have the part number and all of these different things. It just makes things go a lot faster.
Now, there's a dog barking in my backyard. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's not my dog, it's neighbor's dog. When the order desk, or say this company is creating this with you, every company's got their own CRM system. They all got their own management system.
Yep.
How do you consolidate that stuff to work on your end so that when their product goes live on their website, it'll work for yours?
So, okay, maybe this is a misunderstanding. So
Okay.
they're not having to populate any product on their site.
Okay.
We've really created a turnkey solution. So again, if we come back to local mom and pop distributor, they don't have the time or the knowledge or the pockets to create a store. And it takes like 6 to 9 months
Mhm.
to build an online store and populate it properly. Plus you've got to maintain it, stay on top of changes and that kind of stuff. That's really what we're doing for these guys, right? Is we're saying, okay, look, we've got all this stuff. If you're signing up as a distributor, tell us what brands you carry. We'll toggle on those brands. You carry CK,
Okay.
great. You carry
Yep.
Miller, great. Miller, Tergascus, awesome. We got all that. Oh, you don't carry Walter? Okay, we won't put that one on there. So now
Okay.
we create this store. You don't have, we're not giving people a new website. You simply just link from your site to this page, and now people can come in and shop your entire catalogs.
I see.
So if somebody's looking for a part, and that can eat up a ton of time at the order desk, rather than having to do all that legwork yourself, you can say to the person, hey, why don't you go take a look, see if you can find it on the site there.
And then the next step would be whether it's in stock
Mm-hmm.
or available, right?
Exactly. That'll be a challenge for down the road.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of these
Like,
places,
it'll have a little green light that pops up saying in store or something. Like
some places do a really good job staying on top of their inventory, and it's there, in
Mhm.
whatever system that they're using. Others, it's a little more. I don't know. It's yet to be determined.
Yeah, it's to be determined. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but the first thing is right now is, get these distributors to a point where now they can do business online, where that's that uneven playing field, right?
Mhm.
And so that's, again, where we've been having, a lot of luck. So we've got, about 18 different distributor locations now across Canada that are signed up for this, right?
Mhm.
And so you'll see more and more of those start to show up online and show up on distributors' websites.
All right, so let's take a break for our sponsors right now. I've been taking some notes here because I got some questions, but they're all kind of tying to a next theme. So we'll be right back here after about a 2-minute break for our advertisers and our sponsors, and then we'll be back here with Dan Hunt from ClearSource to talk about some new cool stuff that's coming up. All right, so don't go anywhere.
The CWB Association is new and improved and focused on you. We offer a free membership with lots of benefits to anyone interested in joining an association that is passionate about welding. We are committed to educating, informing, and connecting our workforce. Gain access to your free digital publication of the Weld magazine, free online training, conferences, and lots of giveaways. Reach out to your local CWB Association chapter today to connect with other welding professionals and share welding as a trade in your community. Build your career, stay informed, and support the Canadian welding industry. Join today and learn more at cwbassociation.org.
And we are back here on the CWB Association podcast. My name is Max Ceron, and I'm here with Dan Hunt from ClearSource.ca. So right before the break, we were talking about, the distributors and how they have to have you can access the catalogs, which I didn't realize that that's how it worked. And okay, that makes a lot of sense. I remember getting access to the catalogs pre-massive internet dates and being like in my office with this awesome catalog from a distributor, being like, how do I get this in front of my customers? Because there's so many cool things in here that I didn't even know existed that this company can somehow get me. And then, there's even like the flyers you get from your suppliers being like, hey, we got a pallet of this stuff we got to unload. Well, how do I get this in front of my customer for a good deal or stuff like that? Now, all of that seems to be kind of solved or in the process of being solved through your app and what's going on. I have a question about liability. As a customer, I come to use your app. I go through the process. I want to buy the Makita 9005B grinder, which is the most common 5-inch Makita grinder they sell. Every school and place. Well, Metabol's getting popular now, but Makita forever was like the grinder you'd buy. And I know exactly roughly what it should be because I've bought it so many times. I punch it into your app and I get 10 different or 18 companies across Canada that have it in stock for different prices and blah, 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 blah. Okay. Now, if I go through with a purchase through your app, is there any onus on you for quality, insurance, shipping, fees, anything? Like, how are you a part of the process without being a part of the process, right?
Really what we're doing is we're taking that online digitalization piece and handling it for the distributors. So we really don't have, much, connection with the distributor. It's really just creating that conduit and taking that almost insurmountable hurdle out of the way for a lot of these distributors. The response of, the relationship with that end customer is still with that distributor.
Okay.
So I hope that helps.
Yeah. And now if I have a problem in the app, is there a help desk? You said it's just the two of you. Is it Dan picking up the phone at 3 a.m. being like, what's up?
100%. Yeah. And so, and where we're at right now, if you're talking about what's new, I mean, this is what lives in the world right now, but we're actually actively, going and talking to welders, procurement professionals, and primarily small and medium outfits, right? And trying to get their take on things, right? To see, okay, look, we recognize that to date you haven't been able to do business online. What are you looking for there? How can we make this better for you? Right? Because it's again, looking at both sides of that equation, trying to figure out, okay, how are we going to make this better for everybody and just speed things up?
And how wide can this go? Like how deep can this well be? You're talking about suppliers getting to be a broad term, right? Like it can be the consumable tips and the MIG nozzles and the gloves, and it can also be jackets and hats and beanies, which is a whole nother world. It could also be, I don't know, art pieces. I don't know, like what's is there a line in the sand that you'll say I won't cross this line in terms of what we're willing to put up on the site, or not really?
Well, I mean, really the sky's the limit, right? I mean, so yeah, our beachhead is welding supplies because of the fact that that's where, we hold a lot of relationships. And to kick this thing off, if we didn't have relationships, we wouldn't get the time of day from anybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody and their dog gets calls from what I used to do for a living, which was reach out to people and say, hey, do you want to do business online and how can I help you, right? So we start with welding. We can expand over into HVAC, electrical, plumbing. If you look at welding, it's a $4 billion a year business, across North America. If you look at electrical, it's 200 billion, right?
Yeah.
And you can grow into these areas. We actually won the Contech Innovation Software Judges Award. I think I'm getting that right. At Buildex in October last year. And so by approaching, so by approaching the construction space, they're hungry for this too.
Yeah.
Right. And it doesn't just have to be, gases and consumables and equipment. It could conceivably be, your raw materials as well, be it steel or lumber or who knows what else.
Yeah. And is it only available to registered companies as customers?
Yes,
Or
at the
can
moment.
or can I? Well, I shouldn't say I have a registered company, but it's just somebody off on the street just download the app and say, hey, I want to order make tips to my garage. Is that available yet, or is it still only for businesses?
Not yet. Most of the distributors we work with, they're not looking for those, sort of cash accounts, if you call them that, right? But down the road, we'll see how that changes. Right now, we're just trying to really match their current, business process and
Streamline
ideation, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, my brain starts spinning with possibilities, right? It's like, well, you got these paths where you can go down, in the immediate future. You're looking, by the end of this year. What are the integrations or improvements or innovations that ClearSource is looking to get going or implement or even research?
Gotcha. Let's see. By the end of this year, I mean, I know the biggest thing that's on our roadmap right now is expanding down to the U.S. So,
Oh wow, okay, that's a big nut.
Yeah. So I don't know if you're familiar with a group down there called GATA.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, we're chatting with them about being a tech partner, and they've got 600 or so distributors within their group
network. Yeah.
There's about 40 or 50 independent distributors in English speaking Canada. So that really opens up, a big opportunity for us there. Beyond that, we're looking at different integrations, whether that's shipping or financing or payment abilities. Again, just trying to take some of that manual lift off of the order desk to make these distributorships, that much more profitable. Because honestly, they got into the business to help people to move product, and they didn't get into the business to become an API integration specialist and working with ERPs and all this stuff. It's like, no, this isn't what I signed up for, right? So let's take some of this stuff off their plate and make their lives easier.
Well, it is interesting because that is a hurdle. It is a hurdle for a lot of people, and if you don't got someone in your staff or in the leadership group of your company, which when I say leadership group, if it's a small company, you're looking at yourself in the mirror, being I'm the leadership group, and if you don't have someone with the skill set, the online abilities, or even the comfort or lack of fear to even jump into those things, they seem overwhelming. They really do seem overwhelming.
Yeah. And we talked to a ton of distributors who've tried themselves to go and build an online solution, right? They looked at Shopify and went, great, I can just take this off the shelf. Shouldn't take too long. I know we've got a few thousand things to enter in here, but we'll get them entered in slowly. And, we got to put pricing on here. Okay, we'll put in pricing. And then sometimes that changes now 6 times a year, right? So now they got to stay on top of the price files. And it's not uncommon. We've heard the stories of people who sold welders below cost because they didn't update their price files, right, on the website. And after that, they go, forget it. We're not doing this. So we've created this system that allows the entire catalog to be visible, but there's no pricing on the site, right? So you just select your item and then you send off that RFQ to the order desk. They'll give you price and availability, which is the big thing that these distributors want to hang on to, right? Is the ability to protect their margin.
And you're talking about East and West, and you're talking about English-speaking Canada. What about French? That's a conversation. My company, many companies. I mean, the Quebec market is massive. Like they got big dollars, big projects, big money rolling around, but it seems very segregated still when it comes to business between English and French speaking. Yeah, is that on the roadmap someday?
It's on the roadmap, but yeah, the language is a big barrier, right? And as a business just getting off the ground, you want to follow the path of least resistance. And so the more English speaking people, unfortunately, because we're not French, right? My daughter's going to French immersion here in high school, so eventually down the road she'll be
on the staff. Yeah,
she'll be on the staff. Yeah, so. But yeah, the more people that we can get in front of there, the more we can grow it, the more dollars we can get. And we're at that point right now where, like you said, your head spins with possibilities and there's nothing, there's no problem that money can't solve.
So competition wise, have you seen the pop-ups yet? Have you seen the people that have noticed ClearSource and been like, okay, this is a space to move in on? Or do you feel still pretty confident that you guys are trailblazing out there?
I think the way we're doing it is trailblazing still.
Yeah.
You've got your places like your Shopify's and that kind of stuff.
That's a different game altogether. That's
It is.
hosting.
It's built more for retail, right? If
Yeah.
if I'm selling,
Those are those cash accounts. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. If that price isn't going to change, great. That can work there. But for when you have to quote things all the time and the price is different for every different customer that you have, that just doesn't work. So we've seen that. We know that there are some online retailers in Canada who do a really great job, right? Some of them even sponsor the show, and so we tip our hats to them and the work that they're doing. In other cases, you might consider the Amazons of the world a competitor, but the distributors that we've talked to who've tried to go and play in that space, contrary to many beliefs, distributors don't make a ton of margin, and Amazon eats almost all of it.
That's right. And Amazon is a very cutthroat place. I mean, we all have Amazon accounts, and no one can. Don't lie to me. Everyone out there has one, so you buy your things from Amazon, but there's often a choice to not use Amazon in everyone's personal life. It's like, yeah, I could jump online and buy a 10-pack of pencils, but I can just go to my corner store. And you do feel like that. I think the consumer now is savvy enough with online shopping, especially post-COVID, to know when you want to go online and when you kind of don't. And the type of products you're willing to go online for. And when I mean online, I mean like the Amazons or the Alibabas or the stuff like that, the AliExpresses. Like, I mean, I'll go on there for a hairbrush, but I'm not going to go on there to buy steaks. You know what I mean? Like,
right. No, you're 100% right. And I think, some of us, I'm old enough to know you really only had one option if you wanted to go shop before. It was that you just went down to the place and you got it. Maybe you picked up the phone, but computers certainly weren't a thing back then. But now you're getting more and more of these avenues, and you need to have pretty much all your bases covered because, you're going to have 20 people and 19 of them are going to want a different way to interact with you, right? So you're going to have to meet them at all of those, entry points, if you will.
So one of the issues that I have with Trivago, because I was brought up as an example, and this is a complete e-commerce issue that I have, is that I have a hotels.com account. Hotels.com does not give me necessarily the best prices all the time, but they have a points system. Right. And their points system pays out very well. So I do like to use them. I have gone on Trivago. I have the app on my phone, and it'll show me a place that'll be like $15 less than hotels.com. But then I'm like, but I don't get the points. Now, I don't know if in the industrial sales world, anyone's running points or air miles or any type of like frequent flyer stuff. But, is there a thought of your app, or is there thoughts of like customer loyalty programs or anything like that?
At this point, anything's possible, right? We'll see, as we go along, if there's an appetite for that kind of thing. I know that manufacturers do run that kind of program, but they're doing it to try to gain that end user data, right? So things like Miller Bucks and that kind of stuff.
So, like, I mean, I'm just thinking, like, could you have Miller Bucks trade-ins? Or, I mean, this is out of the box. Who knows, right?
Yeah, no, and this is the kind of stuff that it just opens up the possibility for this kind of thing, right? So when we talk to, the manufacturers who we get our catalog information directly from, when we talk to their teams, they're all excited about all the different possibilities that can arise from a program like ours.
So then next steps, in terms of, your development, how's the growth been in this year? Like since we last spoke a year ago, a year and a bit, how has the growth been? You said you won an award in October. That's fantastic. I've seen you at many trade shows across Canada. I kind of run into you here and there. And, are you on track? Are you on pace? Are you exceeding your expectations? How is it going?
Yeah, I think on one side we're chugging along quite nicely, right? That's the distributor side, because these are folks that, particularly the independents, right? They're hungry for this solution. They're trying to figure out how can we do this on our own, and then they realize it takes 6 to 9 months to get a site up, and then they got to maintain it, and they got to pay somebody to do it, and it's it's a headache. So we take
Mhm.
that problem away from them, and then, they're loving this. That's been really good. So Mike's out there on that side making a lot of headway. I'm looking at more the end user side of things, and so we're really trying to overcome the status quo right now. We know that there's a small percentage of people out there who want to do business online, but it hasn't been available to them
Yeah,
until
or
now. So
easy. Yeah.
yeah, so they're not really looking for it. So we're really looking for those people who are understanding of a new, fresh piece of technology, and somebody who's, or a group that's trying to bring, something that hasn't existed before to life, and are willing to kind of jump in there with us and jump in the ditch and dig a bit and give us some honest feedback. Our saying since the beginning has been, tell us where our baby's ugly, right? So that we can, so we can go and make those changes that need to be made. Because there's a great line in a book that Mike was telling me about the other day. It's from a guy named Tony Fadell. He was instrumental in building the iPod, the iPhone, the Nest. Right? He's got a line that says, "Customers will always be more comfortable with what exists already, even if it's terrible." Right? Because we're just used to it. It's
You're
the way we do
comfortable.
things.
Yeah.
Right? And if you think of the way e-commerce started, when it first started happening, most people were like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. I got a store down the street. Why wouldn't I just go down to the store?" And now, like you said, pretty much everybody's got an Amazon account. That
Mhm.
slowly over time that started to change. So we're looking for those innovators, right? People who are comfortable with new technology to try it out and give us the feedback that we need to make things better.
And at what point does the margins for the amount of people coming in, start to really ramp up? What is the barrier that you need to get through to really get this product out into the consumer's hands?
The barrier right now, honestly, I think the biggest one for us is the distributors, because
Yeah.
they've got these sites that we built for them, right? Oftentimes, they just don't even have the time to go and put the link on their website, right? It's happening.
Right.
It's coming slowly. It's, can
Yeah.
never happen fast enough for us. We've got some who are really great and really proactive, others who said, yeah, sure, let's do it. And then, it's kind of like the welding unit that can do a million
Mhm.
different things, but they dial it right back to the, to
To
the simple settings,
stick
right?
setting
Yeah.
one.
Or they put it under a tarp in the back, and
Yeah.
that's where we're at right now, is just trying to get that adoption and get the order desks to push people towards this, because it is a time saver for them, right?
Mhm.
Especially with summer happening, people being away, people having to cover each other's responsibilities and try to do more with less, right?
Yeah.
This is an important time. You factor on top of that the labor crunch that's happening, right? It's really
Mhm.
hard to find good people out there. I mean, ask anybody in the welding community who's
Yeah.
talked to some distributor. I talked to a mobile welding professional out in Ontario there, who said that he doesn't talk to his distributor anymore if he needs any sort of technical advice, because he just doesn't think they have the knowledge base there anymore. So
Yeah.
what he does is he goes online and he finds some of these welding influencers, and he'll reach
Yeah.
out to those people directly and say, "Hey, what would you do in this situation?" Because he feels that they're a better source.
No, and that's very valid.
Yeah.
I mean, I have welding influences on payroll
Mhm.
because they are out there making sure that if anyone's got questions from the social world, I have a point of reference for them to reach out to
Mhm.
that is comfortable in that area and is well known. And because, like you said, if it's comfortable, then people feel confident going to that, right?
Totally.
Now, you know, in terms of getting in front of the contractors as a marketing person, how do you get the message in front of the general contractor, the general welder out there? Are you looking at radio ads, online, word of mouth? You're going to do a big blitz, fairs, conferences, like all of the above?
Yeah, all of that stuff. As we start to get these sort of bespoke private stores out in the world there,
Mhm.
we'll see more and more of that start to happen. Some advertising at the counter, right? Also, obviously on the website, some social media. Billboards and radio aren't out of the realm of possibility for sure.
And do you have a part of the country that has been more successful? You guys are based out of Alberta. Has
Mhm.
Alberta is that your strongest market right now, or?
Uh, I guess, yeah. Only because it's our home base, but really we've got
Mhm.
distributors from Vancouver out to Hamilton.
But in terms of the
Right?
contractors using the app?
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, we're still, kind of in that ramping up phase. So we've had interest from across the country. It's not really to really say that one is stronger than the other, but
Yeah.
from the distributor side, which I think is going to drive a greater amount of the adoption, that's been more here in Alberta to kick things
Okay.
off. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what's the I guess what's the process for someone that's listening and saying, "Hey, this sounds interesting, but I just want to walk through it. Maybe I'm not even a business owner, but I just want to see what the gig is." How
Yeah.
do they find you and walk us through the process of, say, I'm a small contractor with 3 employees and I want to figure out how this works?
Sure. Well, you just go to clearsource.ca, right? Um, Basically, all your steps are going to be on there. You can, shop by brand if you want. You can take a look at all the distributors that are there.
Do you have
But
to set up a
the
profile first? Do you have to set up
no,
a
no, we
No?
set it
Okay.
up so that you can go in, and even if you just want to browse catalogs, you can go through and start to do that, right? And so we're adding more and more of those all the time. So you jump in. Let's say you're looking for, Walter Zip Cuts or something like that. You can jump in there, enter in your part number, bring that up, put that in the cart, right?
Mhm.
Next, you can go and choose the distributors that you want to get quotes from, right?
Can you
So if
just
you,
go select all if you want? Yeah.
yeah, you could. You can go through and select them all, but chances are you've got somebody that you work with locally that you prefer, right?
Okay.
But you can go in and click that, and after that, you kind of give your shipping preferences, if you will, and
So
if
like
you'll be
one
paying.
day or ground or air freight or
Yeah, exactly. Right. You'll get a chance to confirm that later after you get the quote
Mhm.
back, but it gives the order desk an idea of, do they have to, work in shipping in there, or are you going to come pick it up? Right. Um, you can also, indicate, well, actually at that point, you just send off the RFQ. That's it. It's done. It goes to the order desk. They're all set up and prepared to see this pop up in their email. They'll simply go fill in their price and availability. If they don't have it, they'll give you a lead time, right? You can have a few notes go back and forth on that if you want as well. But really, they'll just send that back to you as a quote. And if it's something as simple as a box of zip cuts, well, then you'll receive it and go, okay, yeah, sure, I'd like to push play on this. Put it on my account. Awesome. Yeah, I'll come pick it up. Indicate that, and you're done. And you
so
didn't have
I,
to pick up the phone.
so at what point here did I have to create a profile or an account with ClearSource? Or
Yeah.
do
Okay.
I Yeah.
That's I skipped that part. Yeah. So that would be after you've gone into the cart and you've selected your distributors that you want to work with,
Okay.
right?
And then you'll have to put in like your tax ID or like business number. Like how do you know it's a contractor and not just a person?
Yeah, so you'll create that profile, and really, what we're doing right now is kind of a Flintstone operation. So we're having to do it really kind of with our feet under the desk, kind of run
Mhm.
along. So we'll reach out to these distributors and say, look, is this a real customer or not? Let
Okay,
us
I
know.
see.
And so if
Verify
it is,
it.
then we'll
Yeah.
activate the account and make sure that quote request goes through.
Okay, so that's
Yeah,
still very much so that part isn't automated yet. That that,
not
that would
quite.
be a tricky thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Because what we don't want to do is have, a bot or some nefarious individual get in there and start, spamming our distributor partners with quote requests, right?
And if they are a legitimate company but do not have an account with said distributor,
Mhm.
is there now an added step where they need to go create a account with that distributor before this can go through?
Yeah. Yeah. At the moment.
Yeah.
But down the road, I mean, we could simplify that as well,
Yeah.
right?
Especially if you want to get into the finance game. I had a company where we offered financing. That was a whole nother world
Hmm.
to get into, which actually helped a lot of customers out, but it is a whole lot of paperwork on the back end.
Yeah, exactly. And there's an opportunity there as well. When you
Mhm.
talk about your head spinning and all the different, opportunities and possibilities that are out there. Yeah, for sure. And I think if we're bringing this whole thing full circle, I think to put a button on it, you know, if everybody's just all the same, there's not going to be a lot of change. But the more you bring other voices into the conversation, that's where you're going to start to have your eyes open to different things and go, oh, well, we could bring this and use this here, even though it's from an unrelated space. I can see how that could help out here. You hear about this stuff happening all the time in medicine, where you'll have,
Mhm.
physicians and veterinarians get together. And as funny as that sounds, they'll actually have some procedures.
Is
and
this,
be like,
is this about ugly babies again?
yeah, right. Yeah. They'll say, you did that on a lion? That could probably work on a person. Okay, well, let's try that. Okay. And, they'll cook up some new procedures and some magic will come out of it. So, yeah. So
it's like Ozempic, you make something for people with diabetes and everyone starts losing weight. It's like, hey, wait a second.
totally.
Wait a second. Yeah. Now, are you looking to grow now? Sounds like you guys are running around like crazy. At some point, you're going to have to pull in staff, a headquarters. Like,
Yep.
what, is this happening soon? Or
I wish it would happen soon, yeah.
I don't want to see you guys burn out, right?
Yeah, no, that's a real danger. But no, we'll keep chugging away as we are right now. I mean, obviously with a startup, you got to be, really conscious of your financial runway that you have, right? And so, yeah, we're not going to be like these startups you heard about, maybe 10 years ago that just went crazy and it blew up into these giant things and we're spending money left, right, and center. We got to be really cautious and careful with what we have, particularly in this day and age.
Yeah, well, you guys are year 2 right now, right? Officially, or is this year 3?
Yeah, year 2.
Year 2. So you got 3 more before they say the diapers are off. So they say at 5 the diapers come off, and I remember passing the 5-year mark with my first business, and then the next year it folded. And I was, and I was like, God damn it! I thought I had it.
Bring me so much comfort, Max.
Oh, trust me, I was 27 years old, my friend. I didn't know anything. I had merely carried it through pure will of force, and eventually the will runs out. So yeah, you're much smarter than I am. Trust me.
Well, I'm not, because this is my first go at this. But hats off to my partner Mike, because he's the guy with he's got the MBA. He's been an executive at places. He's worked in the industrial space a lot longer than I have. I'm bringing a lot of things to the table that kind of the yin to his yang in some areas, but in other cases, I'm trying to drink from the fire hose and run to catch up. Right. So,
well, let me tell you, man, the welding fire hose is inexhaustible. It never stops.
No, there's always things changing. Well, now we're into cobots and robots and augmented reality and all kinds of things that we see at FabTech
this was something I was just talking about in another podcast the other day about at what point can I just buy a cobot for my garage? 3D printers were ridiculous and it was a way out there technology. Now I can literally go to Home Depot and buy one. Like they got a off the shelf 3D printer at Home Depot, for a pretty good price. So, at what point is the cobot there and just an off the shelf product where it's just me and my cobot in my garage making 300 brackets a day, providing money for my family? Like, I mean, why not?
Right?
Like, this is getting really Jetsons out here, man.
It really is. And I factor AI into it and all kinds of stuff. And the world's going to change real fast.
It's funny when you think about AI, it's like people get so threatened by AI, like as if we're so smart. Like, I mean, your average calculator is probably smarter than I am already. So like, I already lost that bet a long time ago. All right, Dan. Well, this has been a lot of fun. Any shout outs, any information, websites? This is your space now.
Yeah, really. Just, we just want people to use and try and give us feedback on what we built. Again, we're talking about ugly babies here. Tell us how it's ugly. Don't just rage click on it and leave. We recognize that this change is coming, right? 10 years, 15 years down the road, what's this industry going to look like? Do you think you're still going to be calling down to the distributor to have a conversation about simply ordering a box of N95s if those still exist, or is it going to be something online? We think it's going to be something online. I think most people recognize that that's coming. So if you want a hand in shaping the future and making it do what you want it to do faster, let's get together and have a chat. I mean, the other important thing to remember about this whole thing is that it's free. Yeah. Right. This is built for the end user to use, to make their life easier, which is ultimately making the distributor's life easier, so that they will then have more time for you at the desk to kibitz about whatever and help you out with your technical problem or learn up on some of the new procedures and specifications and that kind of thing. So yeah, the more engagement we can have from people, the better.
And same message for both sides of the fence. The distributors out there, if you're listening to the show, because they listen, I know that they listen. If they want to get on the platform, if they want to be somebody that's a part of your network, they reach out to you the same. Just go to clearsource.ca, find the thing.
Mhm.
And then the other side of the fence, if you're a contractor out there and you want to try out the software, same idea.
Yep.
All right. And it's app friendly, phone friendly, everything.
Yeah, so it's all on the web. So you'll call it a web app, if you will, right? So it's
Okay.
clearsource.ca. You know, I'm a little old school, so I'd recommend using the laptop, because we think that's where, you know, most people, when we take a look at our analytics, that's where most people are coming to our
shopping,
site from.
yeah.
So yeah, hop on the laptop, give it a look, and give it a try. Just, you know, you don't have to buy anything. You can create a test quote request from a local distributor that you might work with.
Or just bill somebody else, you know, and then figure it out later.
There you go.
All right, Dan. Well, thanks so much for taking the time to be on the show today. It was good to see that the company is still around. You know, there's always that fear for startups that this is now a year later and you're still going strong. So this is good news.
Yeah, thanks, Max. Great to see you.
And for all the people that have been following along, you know, if you have a startup company, if you are new in the space of the welding world, we're always looking for entrepreneurs to support and promote. This is part of our mission as an association, as we're member driven. At the end of the day, we're out here trying to service our members, and nothing services our members better than entrepreneurial spirits. So, you know, get out there, support, work, and help. And check these guys out. Check out the source, clearsource.ca. And of course, become a member of the CWB Association. It is also free and brings to you many, many, many benefits. And with the podcast, thank you for listening, downloading, and sharing. Comment on the podcast. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. And if you have any recommendations for people or companies that you would like us to reach out to, we will track them down. So thank you, and stay tuned for the next episode.
We hope you enjoyed the show.